One of these days I'll do him a real favor and just quit. Until then, I'll smoke somewhere else. I can live with that. They can too.
Secondhand smoke can kill the people you love. Protect them. Don't smoke near them. To know more, call 1-800-LUNG-USA, 1-800-LUNG-USA, or visit BreatheEasyBayou.com. That's BreatheEasyBayou.com. Brought to you by Louisiana Department of Health and Hospitals Tobacco Control Program.
All right, welcome back to Louisiana Live, 1-800-673-5555. Saints brought in 6 new players, drafted 6 new players this weekend. And to talk about it is our resident expert out of Thibodaux, William Taylor. William, thanks for joining us here on a Monday. I know normally Tuesday's your day, but with the Saints draft, I think it's probably more appropriate to bring you on Monday. What's your thoughts on the draft? What did you think about it?
I'm disappointed in the first round Hazlitt didn't take that punter with a broken leg. That would have been just right for our luck.
Yeah.
But Will Smith, I always liked his records, going back to the 80s.
No, he doesn't have a multi-million-dollar recording label.
Oh, okay, that's the other one. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I was a bit surprised only because, gosh, for weeks and weeks we kept hearing from the draft analysts about needs on defense like linebacker and cornerback, and it's obvious respectable players like DJ Williams, Jonathan Vilma, they were taken in ahead of the Saints' place. And I will say this, one big positive I hear about Will Smith seems to be his quickness. And I'm copying off some notes here, so forgive me, but some people describe him as a quick twitch athlete with a wide body frame and good lower body muscle development. One of the most decorated prep players to ever wear a Buckeye uniform, a 3-year starter at right defensive end, returned for a senior season. A good, quick defensive lineman is worth his weight in gold. Now, obviously, whether or not he's able to beat out Charles Grant or Darren Howard as a starter, that's probably up in the air. Probably when he makes this roster, he'll probably do a rotation basis, kind of like what Willie Whitehead's been doing, and that he'll probably be some kind of third-down pass rusher. Because with his speed, there's a whole lot he can do. Now, if I heard the story correct, my memory is right. I believe his teammate at Ohio State was Chris Gamble.
Yes.
Chris Gamble said at one time when they timed the 40-yard dash, Will Smith was faster than Chris Gamble.
Wow.
So that's pretty remarkable stuff.
Chris Gamble ran some slow 40s, and that's a reason why he fell so deep in the draft. Let's take a call at 1-800-673-5555. I just want to say this point now that I got it in my head right here, though, with the drafting of Will Smith, placing the transition tag on Darren Howard and Charles Grant being a first-round pick a couple years ago, I'll say this, they're going to have a lot of money tied up on defensive ends with this team. Let's bring in Terry and Slidell. Terry, thanks for calling the program. How you doing today, man?
All right, man. I don't know if I want to go to the San Diego Chargers myself, but, I know y'all talk about the Saints right now, but I guess the draft is considered, I don't want to play for the Chargers. I mean, they might get beat up or something, and, Eli and, all the Mannings did the same thing. They want to get where they go, and, and like I was saying on a couple other shows, you add up all the championships the Mannings have won. How many you got?
0.
1.
Well, high school?
No, I'm talking about when they won it. Peyton won the SEC.
Okay, all right. I'm talking about big-time champions.
But the only reason he won that is because Herb Tyler and Mike Bobo beat somebody that he couldn't beat. He was an OFA against the Florida Gators. So he wouldn't have won a championship if it wasn't for LSU, little Herb Tyler and Bobo. Now Eli, all that great talent he got. The only thing I can remember his whole career is going to be enveloped in my mind. I'm falling and I can't get up.
I know what you're saying.
What about if Clayton didn't want to play for the Bucks? He wanted to play for something. He's just, the problem with it is, the Mannings have the money where he could have set out a year. He just manipulated the draft to get what he wanted. It's like when Burt Jones didn't want to go to the Baltimore Colts when he got drafted. He said, well, I don't want to go there, But, the Mannings had the money, and they got what they wanted, and poor Archie, he don't want his kid to get beat up. Well, that's just the way it is. Nobody else gets to pick and choose who they want to play for.
There's a lot of problems I have with it, Terry. And one thing, why not say why you don't want to go to San Diego. Susie Colbert was there on draft day, asked him point blank, why don't you want to go to San Diego? Well, we don't want to discuss those. Like they're President Bush or something, that I didn't understand. If you don't want to go to San Diego, that's fine. Tell us why. I think that's, to me there's just something fishy about the whole thing, and I agree with a lot with what you say, Terry.
Like a lot of guys that they don't want to get drafted who they want to play with. You think, and the thing is this though, being a starting quarterback doesn't, just because you're a superstar coming out of college doesn't make you a great, Brady wasn't a great quarterback coming out of Michigan, and he's got 2 Super Bowl rings. He's got something Peyton may never get, and stuff like that. But it's like every time the Mannings get in a big game, they always do that little choke, little photo, and so I guess Eli's going to be in New York, and you think the New York media, if he starts losing and starts throwing in having a bad year, they're not going to get on him up there?
Well, just talk to Alex Rodriguez right now.
All righty, guys.
All right, thanks a lot, Terry. Well, that was obviously the big story, William, over the draft of what Eli Manning did, and my thoughts were about this whole situation, and we'll get yours as we're about ready to come up to a break. I just thought this is a guy that I think, I vaguely, I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not old enough to necessarily remember all that happened with John Elway some 20-plus years ago. But for Eli Manning, who, in my opinion, is not even the best quarterback coming out of this draft, to act the way he did, I just thought it was a little bit childish, and I know how some of that attitude is up in Ole Miss, that sometimes it, our what doesn't what. And I just kind of thought that was the impression that I was getting from Eli Manning.
Well, Jeff, tell all your listeners to turn their recorders on when we come back from the break, and I'll tell you the whole story.
All right. Okay, we'll hear the whole story from William Taylor, our resident expert out of Thibodeau. 1-800-673-5555. We'll be back after this.
Hi, this is Ricky Stockner for Louisiana's best on-hold value, Sound Solutions.
If your business relies on the telephone for new orders, customers' questions, or support, you need hold-time marketing from Sound Solutions.
Hold-time marketing will keep your callers on the line while telling them about your company.
With hold-time marketing from Sound Solutions, your callers may hear about a product or service they didn't know you offered. That'll increase your sales.
Best of all, Sound Solutions has plans to fit any budget. So give us a call now at 1-888-312-5200.
There has never been a better time to enjoy all of the benefits on-hold marketing delivers than right now, during Sound Solutions' 10th anniversary.
And with Sound Solutions, there are no contracts to sign. We prove ourselves with every production.
So call Sound Solutions now at 888-312-5200.
Or visit us on the web at www.soundsolution.com.
I want my kids to grow up in a house that's safe. Know what I mean? I keep things out of their reach, things that can really hurt them, like chemicals, cleaning materials, anything they're not supposed to get into. That's why I don't smoke in the house either. See, cigarette smoke has a lot of bad things in it, chemicals, stuff that can make my kids sick. I'm talking permanent sick. It's not good. And if I'm smoking in the house, they're breathing just as much of it as I am. I don't want that. I could never forgive myself if my kids got sick just because I smoke near them. One of these days I'll do them a real favor and just quit. Until then, I'll smoke somewhere else. I can live with that. They can too.
Secondhand smoke can kill the people you love. Protect them. Don't smoke near them. To know more, call 1-800-LUNG-USA, 1-800-LUNG-USA, or visit BreatheEasyBayou.com. That's BreatheEasyBayou.com. Brought to you by Louisiana Department of Health and Hospitals Tobacco Control Program.
All right, welcome back to Louisiana Live, 1-800-673-5555 on the subject of what happened this weekend. As far as the NFL draft, we'll take your calls on what you or how you think about the Saints draft, what you think about the Saints draft. Also, right now we're talking about the Eli Manning saga as he gets what he wants. He's going to the New York Giants. I think the Giants gave up a lot. They definitely did. They gave up a lot for a guy as I said, I don't think he's even the best quarterback in that draft or in this draft. And the Giants, they made quite a few picks to get Eli Manning. All right, William, your thoughts on this whole situation?
You know, Jeff Palermo, I've probably known you, I guess, on a weekly basis for a few months now, and when, of course, for a few years now, when I've had the opportunity to go up there in Baton Rouge and meet you in person. And, you know, it's been a long time in the world of sports since an issue has upset me so much as this one. And I've been hearing calls on different talk shows since Thursday of people nonstop bashing the Mannings, not so much over the issue of the draft. I can accept that. That's part of sport.
Yeah.
But people have been attacking the Manning family personally and spreading rumors, including that Archie Manning's never paid property taxes in New Orleans. I've heard rumors that that the Mannings, all they've ever done in New Orleans is take, and they've never given back. For everybody listening in Louisiana and Mississippi on the internet right now, let the facts be known. Archie Manning did not initiate this situation. The Tuesday before the draft, he was contacted by the San Diego Chargers about getting involved with negotiations as to, you know, the situation with Eli, whether he was going to go there, sign, what have you. In fact, Commissioner Paul Tagliabue even called Archie Manning and asked him to get involved. So when Commissioner Paul Tagliabue called and asked him about it, you know, Archie said, well, you know, he would get involved to some degree besides what a father would do for a son, obviously. So what happened, Archie called people around the league that he knew, asking them about the San Diego Chargers situation. And according to a media friend, source of mine who's known the Manning family for a long time, Archie really wasn't that happy with what a lot of people said about the San Diego Chargers. Now, so when he further conversed with the Chargers, he asked that whatever was said between him and them would be kept private. So he politely said that he did not wish, that he didn't feel it was best for Eli to go to the Chargers. Okay, so be it on that. However, the reason why Eli had made public comments later, after the word was leaked out about Archie's conversations with the Chargers, the real reason why Eli publicly stated he didn't want to play for San Diego was because they broke the trust they made with his dad over the situation. And that's what made it worse. Then another report came out that all along the Chargers didn't want Eli, but they needed to make themselves look good in the situation. So they leaked the story about the conversation with Archie so that once they traded Eli to another squad, that if Eli succeeded and whoever they picked did not, down the road they say, oh, you got to remember, when we wanted to get Eli, but his father kept getting in the way. All along, the San Diego Chargers did not want Eli Manning. A guy like Marty Schottenheimer was very high on Phillip Rivers to begin with, but San Diego knew they could get great trade value out of Eli, whether or not they picked him first or made the trade before the draft. So all along, and don't get me, a lot of people have just been bashing the Manning family because maybe they have more bucks than other people do. I know a lot of people have been bashing them because the kids went to Ole Miss and Tennessee, respectively. But I think this situation has gotten way blown out of proportion by a lot of inbred idiots that like to call talk shows and can't hear themselves think. Nonetheless, are able to read above a third-grade level.
Well, let me say this. If Archie Manning, the Mannings are trying to act like they're innocent in all this. And I got to tell you what. No one is innocent in all this. I don't think Eli Manning sat there on national television and said, I don't want to play for the San Diego Chargers. He said that right before, regardless of and I agree with you, William, I think the Chargers have helped spin this to take the heat off of themselves. There's no doubt about this. But I can't imagine any other player in this draft that would have said, if Susie Colbert of ESPN would have asked that player, will you want to be drafted by the San Diego Chargers, I guarantee you 99% of them would say yes.
But I'll tell you what, most football teams wouldn't have broken the trust of his father like that.
Well, that's fine. But isn't this a business? That's the way the business is. Nobody, if it was Carson Palmer's father, the Chargers wouldn't even ask his father to get involved with this. There is a part of this that the Mannings are not 100% innocent on this thing.
Nah, I'm sorry. I just have a hard time believing.
If they and the Mannings, I don't know, William. I just think the Mannings put themselves in a bad spot. Granted, they're probably getting way too much heat, but I don't think they had the right to say, I don't want to be drafted by the Chargers.
Good afternoon. I'm Don Molino, Louisiana Network News. This past weekend was a deadly one on Louisiana's highways. State police reported at least 9 people lost their lives in traffic accidents. Lieutenant William Davis says at least 3 of the 9 victims were not wearing seat belts.
It takes 2 seconds to put that seat belt on, and that could save a life.
The stormy weather is being blamed for at least 1 of the 9 fatalities. A Caldwell Parish man was killed Saturday night on Highway 850 when he hit a tree that had been knocked down by high winds. Davis says as summer approaches, our highways will become more crowded and more concentration will be required by drivers.
The passengers need to leave the driver alone and let the driver concentrate. There's too many cars out on the roadway to have our attention taken away from operation of that vehicle and to drive defensively.
State Police Lieutenant William Davis. I'm Don Molino, Louisiana Network News.
Patches of itchy, scaly, irritated skin? Perhaps on your elbows, knees, hands, or feet. If it's psoriasis, relief is available without a prescription. Try MG217 ointment. It helps stop the itch, remove scaly buildup, redness, and irritation. Your skin can be healthy and clear of psoriasis.
MG217 ointment is available at your local drugstore, including CVS, Eckerd, Rite Aid, Osco, and Walgreens. Visit MG217.com.
If you like going to the beach to read a little romance novel, this event is not for you. It's the Super Boat International Gold Cup Championship Series, and it's coming to Orange Beach, Alabama, April the 29th through May the 2nd. Imagine the world's fastest boats zipping by at up to 135 miles per hour. It's one trip to the beach that you'll never forget. For more information or to purchase VIP passes, call 1-866-954-7223 or visit thunderonthegulf.com.
Louisiana Live, 1-800-673-5555. Our resident Saints expert out of Thibodaux, William Taylor, on the line with us as we talk about the Eli Manning saga. Let's go to Jim in Slidell, who has a comment. Jim, welcome to the program. How you doing today, man?
Oh, I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
All right.
Well, yeah, I just want to make a comment, from your last caller dealing with the Mannings. They put themselves in a situation where San Diego really had no choice but to come out and say, Eli does not want to play for us. If they sit back and say, okay, we'll keep this quiet and, okay, we're not going to draft Eli because he doesn't want to come here, even though we need him, if they stand up there with the first pick of the draft and say, we're taking Rivers, not Eli Manning, their fans are going to go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
At least now, them breaking the story that, hey, we're not taking Eli because Eli doesn't want to play here. At least now they have something to back up, and they get the fans behind them. Of course, every fan in San Diego, they hate Eli Manning right now.
Yeah.
They put themselves in a situation where they had to come out and say something. So, I don't know. I don't hate the Manning. I'm not a fan one way or the other, to tell you the truth. They haven't done anything for us, as far as I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Archie played well, but, we're talking about Eli, not Archie.
Yeah. I just think, Jim, I don't think one player is bigger than the game. And when players do this, I get the intention, or I get the thoughts that Eli Manning thinks he's bigger than the Eli Manning and the Manning family because his dad's involved in this thing and his brother's sitting there right next to him on draft day, that they think they're bigger. They feel that they're bigger than the game itself by doing something like this.
No, I totally agree. What has Eli done for the NFL? Nothing, not yet. And of course this draft's the whole crapshoot. Eli Manning may turn out to be a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows what he's going to do in the NFL, and that goes for all the players that have been drafted this past weekend. Up until they get up there and get on the field and start playing football, hey, they might be a dud. There's no telling. San Diego, I think they're great for themselves.
Yeah.
The Giants gave up way too much or an unproven player.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Eli didn't do anything great in college. You know, he didn't do what Peyton did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he didn't lead them to national contention every single year, whether they won a championship or not. They were contenders. You know, why Peyton Manning was at Tennessee. You know, Ole Miss was never really a contender. You know, the last year they played good football, and that was it.
Yeah.
You know, so they're taking the crap shot. You know, and I think it's going to come back to bite the Giants in the proverbial butt.
Well, we'll see.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Jim. William, your thoughts?
Well, you know, it's I can understand Jim's commentary on a lot of points, but you know, I've been lucky in my life knowing the media as long as I have, knowing who to trust and who not to, and I'll still stick with my story. That it is my opinion, from what I've been gathered, San Diego, even before talking to Eli and his agent Tom Condon, never had any real interest in really drafting him at all to keep. That basically San Diego is an organization in the last few years that has run themselves down, especially after their general manager John Butler passed away. A.J. Smith, in my opinion, is a bit of a con artist. And that I think they knew all along when they drew Archie Manning into this, and they would leak it out for all practicality, that they were trying to make themselves look like the good guy in this situation in case Eli would become more successful than the quarterback they eventually got, which is Phillip Rivers. So, listen, if people think the Mannings are trying to hide something, I seriously doubt it. Eli has never given the impression to me that he thinks he's bigger than the game. I mean,
well, that's what he's doing, though, William.
Jeff, as much as I love you, I'm sorry.
No, that's what when the guy sits there and says, I don't want to play for San Diego, I don't want to follow what every other player has to do in the NFL, that is the impression that he's given.
Yep, but at the same time, even if you're drafted by a team, I mean, if you don't want to play for them, you can sit out a year. Financially.
Granted, that's granted. Granted, you could do that. But how many players do that? How many players do that? How many players have the ability because of what he has? Now, granted, there have been players that have sat out. Bo Jackson did it. He got drafted by Tampa Bay, but he had baseball. And that's fine. But I don't think you go back to that. Bo Jackson never said, Buccaneers, don't draft me. Everybody else, you could draft me, but Bucks, no. You can't draft me. He has that option. If he wants to do that, that's fine. But don't sit there on draft day and manipulate the whole thing.
Well, I still believe, and there's only one reason why I believe Eli would come out and say what he did, and that is because he felt the charges violated what was a private trust between him and his dad. And I think all along that this whole situation smelled from the beginning, and while I definitely don't believe the Mannings are a perfect family by any stretch, and I've never tried to paint them that way, is that I really think this was entrapment all along. And San Diego is just trying to get away scot-free on something when, you know, basically all I've been hearing is a bunch of secret Louisiana-based college fans wanting to use this as an excuse to bash the family personally. Now, you know, like I said, I've followed the Saints for a long, long time, going back to when Archie first came around, you know, and yes, Ole Miss, when he was there, for example, didn't have as much success as LSU did under Charlie McClendon. I mean, you can't deny that. But to say that for people to call up, in this case of Eli, obviously Eli didn't have the success in his 4 years at Ole Miss that the quarterbacks of LSU had under Nick Saban, obviously. But, I mean, that doesn't mean the guy is total garbage either. And for people to automatically assume that Eli is not going to be a success in the NFL, I mean, it's a little bit too quick to jump on that. At least give the guy a year or two and give him some evaluation time. It's just that, Jeff, that one thing about this issue that really bothers me is what's become a personal vendetta from some people. And like I said, people should have the right to their opinions. That's fine. But, you know, for people to start spreading garbage on the radio, on call-in shows about the whole family, especially on a personal level. I mean, for example, one story that came out which is untrue. Do you remember last year the Saints-Giants game and the cell phone incident? Okay. Well, of course, Michael Lewis was involved with the incident. Well, the Thursday after the game, Archie Manning was on WWL television out in New Orleans with Jim Henderson for his Thursday night preview show.
Yeah.
And what happened, Archie Manning expressed that he was a little disappointed in Michael Lewis for being involved in an act which would obviously draw a personal foul based on the way NFL conduct is set up today. And you got people calling talk shows who totally take what Archie said out of context as if he hates Michael Lewis. So, I mean, this whole incident has gotten way uglier than it should. And to be very honest with you, and this will be a commentary I'm going to read on the radio later today, I've never been more embarrassed to be a sports fan of Louisiana than to hear people just totally go off on tangents on this story and without really knowing both sides of it.
Well, it's just not Louisiana. You know, I mean, it's you heard Eli Manning getting booed like he was on the show Apollo when he was getting drafted. Every time they mentioned his name right before the draft. I agree with you, William, that there are people in Louisiana who are using this, that are anti-Manning people, that are using this to just support their case. I agree with you.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's what upset me.
Well, but I do not think, though, that the Mannings, I don't think the Chargers, and I don't even think the NFL, in this case, is all innocent on this thing.
Well,
everybody has a black eye. Everybody has a part in this, and I guess Owen can look at this as a learning lesson for everyone involved. Because if Phillip Rivers was the big-time quarterback in this that everybody wanted, first of all, if his name was Phillip Manning and it was Eli Rivers would not be the number one pick. Let's just state that right off the bat as well. But if Phillip Rivers' father tried to, regardless if an organization asked him or he tried to intervene, this thing, that organization would have told Mr. Rivers, go away. I'm dealing with his agent and the player himself. And that, to me, that's what I have I have a little bit of a problem. I understand Archie Manning has a concern for his son, and he's doing the father thing, but Eli Manning's 23 years old. Let Eli Manning and his agent handle this situation.
And that's fine and dandy. And I think, to be honest with you, and this is just me, I think Archie may have stayed out of it if it was just San Diego that called him.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the commissioner called him.
But don't tell me, William, that was the first time he ever talked to San Diego. The commissioner called him based on knowing that things were falling apart here. That negotiations between them, because San Diego wanted to negotiate with the Mannings, but they were so against it.
Well, I can tell you this: if word gets out later that Archie had talked to them before the Tuesday incident where it was reported that they solicited him, fine. Then you got an extremely valid point in that regard.
There's no way, William, that was the first time he ever talked with the Chargers organization. They have been doing their homework ever since they knew San Diego had the number one pick.
But remember now, this is San Diego. So.
Well, this is the New Orleans Saints. I mean, But
Archie's not with the Saints anymore.
Well, I understand that. All right, we'll just disagree to agree, William.
Yeah, before I have to call in Hacksaw Duggan. So.
All right, let's talk about some other stuff when we come back, all right?
Good.
1-800-673-5555.
This is HealthWire. I'm Callie James. Every year, thousands of women will be diagnosed with advanced stages of breast cancer. Many will face radical surgeries and treatments, and many will die. But it doesn't have to be this way, say health experts with the Medicare Quality Improvement Organization for Louisiana. Annual screening mammography is highly recommended for women age 40 and older. Mammography remains the best method of detecting breast cancer in its earliest, most treatable stage, up to 2 years before a lump is large enough to be felt. Regular mammography detects about 90% of breast cancers in women who have no symptoms. And according to the American Cancer Society, when breast cancer is found early, the 5-year survival rate is 96%. Women who have Medicare are encouraged to talk to their doctor immediately about mammography, and Medicare helps cover the cost of yearly screening mammograms. If you have questions, call 1-800-MEDICARE or visit their website, www.medicare.gov. For HealthWire, I'm Callie James, Louisiana Healthcare Review.
Hi, this is Ricky Stockner for Louisiana's best on-hold value, Sound Solutions.
If your business relies on the telephone for new orders,
customers' questions, or support, you need whole-time marketing from Sound Solutions.
Whole-time marketing will keep your callers on the line while telling them about your company.
With whole-time marketing from Sound Solutions, your callers may hear about a product or service they didn't know you offered. That'll increase your sales.
Best of all, Sound Solutions has plans to fit any budget. So give us a call now at 1-888-312-5200.
There has never been a better time to enjoy all of the benefits on-hold marketing delivers than right now, during Sound Solutions' 10th anniversary.
And with Sound Solutions, there are no contracts to sign. We prove ourselves with every production.
So call Sound Solutions now at 888-312-5200.
Or visit us on the web at www.soundsolution.com.
Welcome back to Louisiana Live, 1-800-673-5555. 7 LSU players were drafted yesterday, and 6 today signed free agent contracts. Linebacker Eric Alexander and defensive back Randall Gay both signed with the New England Patriots. Of course, Marquise Hill was drafted by the Patriots on Saturday. Also, other free agent contracts, special team standout Adrian Mays and tight end Eric Edwards went with the Arizona Cardinals. Defensive back Jack Hunt with Tampa Bay. Of course, the Bucs picked Michael Clayton with their first-round pick at number 15 overall. And offensive tackle Rodney Reed signed with the Atlanta Falcons today. One other LSU note, tomorrow at 11:30, the athletic department is going to hold a press conference concerning the women's basketball program. So we'll find out tomorrow whether Sue Gunner will remain the coach at LSU or if Pokey Chapman becomes the head coach because of Gunter's illness. All right, William, about, I think it was like 6 days ago, it seems like now, even though it was only about 30 minutes ago, we were talking about the Saints draft, and we were just about to get into it. I guess, overall, what'd you think about it? Today, Jeff Duncan of the Times-Picayune, he gives it a C+.
Well, I think it's average to slightly above. I think going back to something earlier that, it was a little bit being caught off guard that they weren't able to get a linebacker or DB they felt could impact. But overall, it's really not bad a draft, especially when I found out in the second round later in the day they were able to get Devery Henderson out of LSU, a guy who many different draft analysts feel was very underrated going into this draft. Everybody listening right now knows about his accomplishments. A very talented speedster, can easily develop into a key weapon on offense if necessary. So if Joe Horn, been a long day, gets banged up like he did last year, it'd be a good opportunity for a good receiver, good hands receiver like Devery Henderson to make an impact on this football team. Courtney Watson, the linebacker they got out of Notre Dame, outstanding character both on and off the field.
That's what I hear about him. He's quite a philanthropist. He's the kind of guy that loves to do the community service stuff.
Mm-hmm. And also, too, something I was just reading here, which I didn't know about him, he has 202 return yards as a defender, running back interceptions and fumbles and such. So apparently he's definitely a very opportunistic player. And hopefully, maybe just by luck, I realize as you get lower in rounds, it's not that easy to find good players. Hopefully that's where good scouting comes in. This maybe, not saying will be the steal of the draft, but hopefully he'll be the best surprise of the from the third round on down to possibly, let's hope and pray now because we need help in the linebacker position, to possibly help turn that team around in 2004. Obviously one man can't do it all, but heck, let's face it, any linebacker will be better than what we've been going through last year. So, and of course the other picks who I'm not very familiar with, I was covering the weather a lot yesterday, so you have to forgive me for not getting caught up on everything, but with Rodney, how's it pronounced? Is it Liesel?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, out of UCLA, 6'3", 309. So at a defensive tackle position. So if he's not on developmental, probably be a good backup. Mike Carney, the fullback. I hear a lot about this guy. Listen to this description of him. Classic throwback to the days when football players wore leather helmets. So at a fullback position, but they do admit that he's not that good at receiving the ball, And the few times he has carried in college, he usually tries to knock people down instead of run around them. But, hey, as long as you got deuce, just block and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
And finally, in their last pick, outside linebacker Kobe, I believe it's pronounced Bockwalt, so out of BYU. So overall, I think it's average, maybe slightly above. I believe USA Today wasn't that high on the draft themselves.
Yeah.
But you know, I think it's not an exciting group of picks, for lack of a better word, but hopefully, for lack of excitement, they'll make up for it in substance, and you know, we'll see if it's going to be able to make this team better or not. You know, so it's just hard to tell at this stage.
They really, when Denver took DJ Williams, man, with that number 17 pick, they just had to be pounding their fists on the table.
Yeah. I mean, that guy, him and Vilma, could have made a real positive impact on this team. And, you know, doggone it, that's the only problem with draft day. I can't say, well, in a sense, it's like a lottery. You're just hoping you get the right number at the right time, or the right selection at the right time.
Things really didn't go well for him, I don't think. Yeah. I think that really, you know, and I mentioned this at the top of the show now, with putting the transitional tag on Darren Howard, the first-round pick of Charles Grant just a couple of years ago, and now you're going to have to give first-round money to another defensive end. Man, that is a lot of money tied up with defensive ends.
And, of course, the crazy part is, you know, one of them can't play every down because of the other two.
Yeah.
So, basically, you'll be paying a lot of money to at least one guy who won't be out there on the field all the time.
I agree.
So if you're Mr. Benson, you know, you're kind of shaking your head at that. Oh, by the way, speaking of that, it's hard to describe on radio. Did you get today's Times-Picayune with the black and white photo of the draft room?
Yeah, he's really interested.
Yeah, so, almost looks like Mr. Magoo a little bit. But, no, but what's so funny is if you put Mr. Benson aside, when they took that shot, here's Rick Mueller, eyes solely on the computer. Jim Haslett got his computer closed laughing with Mickey Loomis.
Yeah.
If that isn't a stereotypical description of this team the last few years, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. That photo just made me laugh. It's one to put on the wall.
Yeah, I guess so. I wonder what Hazlett's laughing about there.
Yeah.
He's having a good old time.
So, oh well. At least Rick Mueller was working.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, one more segment here with William Taylor. Get your thoughts on the draft. If you got anything else to add, 1-800-673-5555 is the number. We'll be back after this here on Louisiana Live.
This is HealthWire. I'm Callie James. Every year, thousands of women will be diagnosed with advanced stages of breast cancer. Many will face radical surgeries and treatments, and many will die. But it doesn't have to be this way, say health experts with the Medicare Quality Improvement Organization for Louisiana. Annual screening mammography is highly recommended for women age 40 and older. Mammography remains the best method of detecting breast cancer in its earliest, most treatable stage, up to 2 years before a lump is large enough to be felt. Regular mammography detects about 90% of breast cancers in women who have no symptoms. And according to the American Cancer Society, when breast cancer is found early, the 5-year survival rate is 96%. Women who have Medicare are encouraged to talk to their doctor immediately about mammography, and Medicare helps cover the cost of yearly screening mammograms. If you have questions, call 1-800-MEDICARE or visit their website, www.medicare.gov. For HealthWire, I'm Callie James, Louisiana Healthcare Review.
I want my kids to grow up in a house that's safe. Know what I mean? I keep things out of their reach, things that can really hurt them, like chemicals, cleaning materials, anything they're not supposed to get into. That's why I don't smoke in the house either. See, cigarette smoke has a lot of bad things in it, chemicals, stuff that can make my kids sick. I'm talking permanent sick. It's not good. And if I'm smoking in the house, they're breathing just as much of it as I am. I don't want that. I could never forgive myself if my kids got sick just because I smoked near them. One of these days I'll do them a real favor and just quit. Until then, I'll smoke somewhere else. I can live with that. They can too.
Secondhand smoke can kill the people you love. Protect them. Don't smoke near them. To know more, call 1-800-LUNG-USA, 1-800-LUNG-USA, or visit BreatheEasyBayou.com. That's BreatheEasyBayou.com. Brought to you by Louisiana Department of Health and Hospitals Tobacco Control Program.
All right, welcome back to Louisiana Live, 1-800-673-5555. Coach Jim Haslett says about Courtney Watson, the second-round pick, that he'll try him at middle linebacker. That's where he played at Notre Dame, but they'll also try to use him on the weak side. And now they, obviously at this point, the Saints also will be looking for free agents to add on. I would imagine they would sign another linebacker there as well. They'll probably bring in over a half a dozen, get a couple cornerbacks. So there's still more work to be done, but we're starting to get a picture of what the 2004 Saints will look like. We know who they're playing and when they're playing them. I guess some early thoughts as we can now start to really zone in on what may happen in 2004, William.
Well, I'd like to think so. The doggone it, the real disappointment I had, because I've seen this guy play, and he's real remarkable on the 1AA level.
Yeah.
Was Chris Thompson at Nicholls State,
right?
Who's going to end up now in Jacksonville. And with our luck, he'll probably turn out to be the greatest special team star ever. Well, I mean, for his sake, I hope it happens, but I really don't know that. And yeah, it'll be interesting to pan out. But unfortunately, I don't want to close out on this. I'm sorry Ricky Stockner's not in today. But if he's listening, I got another Vanessa update for you.
Okay.
Well, we got bad news for you. It looks like next week she's got to go into the hospital. According to her doctor, Dr. Morga, she needs an appendix transplant.
Okay.
So anyway, everybody pray for her when she has her appendix transplant next week.
Let me ask you this, William. We were talking about quarterbacks beforehand. Let's take a look at the first-round picks. We had Eli Manning.
Mm-hmm.
We had Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, and then J.P. Lossman went to Buffalo. Those were the four quarterbacks picked in the first round. And I know this is the NFL, you never know what's going to happen. But if you had to guess, who do you think will be the most successful out of those four, and who's going to be the biggest bust?
Well, sadly, the one guy who I think is going to be the biggest bust might be J.P. Lossman.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy, man, going into the draft, some of the crazy things he said to the press. I mean, I love a guy with confidence, but sometimes confidence can go into arrogance, and maybe it's up to you, me, and all of us as individuals to decide what's what. But I don't know. There's just something suspicious about him that reminds me of Ryan Leaf. Now, I can't put my finger on it. It's just something about the way he presents himself. I've met him once. I've never had a problem with the guy. As for the other three, who's going to be the best? That's going to be tough. You know what my gut feeling tells me is I think Roethlisberger has a lot to give. Even though he played in the Mid-American Conference, which obviously is not as big as the other conferences, this guy, for what he did on that level, was pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
And I heard Pittsburgh was so excited that he was still there. They didn't think he was going to be that far down.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I don't know. I think Pittsburgh can still rebound. So in the short term, I'm going with Roethlisberger.
I like Roethlisberger, too. I'd have to agree with your picks. And I'm not saying Eli or Phillip Rivers are going to have a bad NFL career, but I just like Roethlisberger's size, and it just seemed the way he handles himself. He played at LSU a couple of years ago. Looked like a pretty good quarterback. William, thanks a lot for joining us. We'll talk to you again next week. I appreciate it, man.
Good for the argument.
All right, it was.
Thank you.
We'll talk again next week. And tomorrow we're going to have Joe Dean on.
This is Health Wire. I'm Callie.
Well, in case you're wondering if Jeff Palermo sounds a lot different today, it's because I am not Jeff Palermo. Jeff has got the day off. And Don Grady filling in. And our thanks to Justin Guitterez from Sports Wrap at TIX for being with us. And William Taylor. William, I've been wondering, have you put your nose to the grindstone there? What's Las Vegas doing looking at the Saints? Any idea, or is it too early?
I think the initial bet, the over and under this year, is the number of games they may win is 7. So if I was going to fly to Las Vegas right now, I would bet over 7, that the Saints would win more than 7 games this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I see it right now.
All right, Justin.
Well, William, you're not the only one, because right now the money is coming in on the Saints to win over 7 games. We had a guy on who lives in Las Vegas on our program this afternoon, and he said that the money is coming in on the Saints. So that would probably be the popular choice right about now, Saints winning over 7 games.
Speaking of money, and let's attach money to a stadium, how much talk is there in New Orleans about a new stadium for the Saints? Is that just making headlines from the front office and the governor's office, or is it a big story?
Well, it's a pretty big story. I mean, it broke a couple weeks ago, and when it first broke, it was the talk of the town. It's kind of fizzled off as we get closer to the football season and more people want to talk about the actual game of football. But you can believe once the season is concluded that talk is going to really fire up about a new stadium and trying to merge it with a phase of the convention center along the riverfront over there. So, yeah, it was a pretty hot topic a couple weeks ago, and, I assume that it's going to be a hot topic again after the season. But once football starts tonight in, 2 hours and 10 minutes, most people are going to want to talk about what's going on the field instead of off the field.
Yeah, what kind of a crowd they're going to have?
Well, I think they sold the game out, and it should be on TV. I know they lifted the blackout, so I imagine they'll have, 55,000 people in there tonight. I mean, there'll be a lot of no-shows because it's on TV and it's a preseason game.
What are the chances, to your thinking, of the Saints ever leaving New Orleans? I mean, seriously.
Well, that's a good question. It depends on what the state does for the New Orleans Saints. That's all there is to it. I mean, I think if they build them a new stadium, then absolutely 100% they'll be here for at least another 30, 40 years. If they don't build them a new stadium, then, it gets kind of, sticky. I personally think that this state will somehow find a way to keep the Saints here because if New Orleans loses the Saints, the morale of this city would just be absolutely devastated. So I think that there's a good chance the Saints will be here. I mean, people are entrenched. The Saints are entrenched in this community. It's as much New Orleans as red beans and rice and, everything else. So I think the Saints will be here for a long time.
A lot of people just can't imagine the Crescent City without the Saints. I mean, come on.
I'm telling you, it would just, like I said, the morale of the city would be, the whole fabric, the whole, everything about New Orleans would change if they lost this team. Even though this team has not been a winner and it's been a consistent loser, it's still, it still would be a devastating loss.
Yeah, Justin, I know you've had a busy day and a long one, but thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Oh, it's always my pleasure, and I'll be happy to do it again sometime.
All righty, thank you much. Justin Guitterez.
You have a nice weekend.
You too. Sports Wrap on WTIX. And William is still with us. William Taylor, who's been subbing as our weather guy, and also going to talk about Saints, and especially from a little bit different angle, right, William?
Exactly. Saints have a real colorful history, and a lot of funny stories occurred along the way. And I guess if you want me to throw one out to you right now, one of my favorite funny stories in Saints history is what we call the ice cream cone. Back in 1987, at training camp was at Strawberry Stadium in Hammond, and the #1 draft pick was Sean Knight. Well, he held out all the training camp, trying to get a lot of money out of the team. Well, during the holdout, the Saints were having a practice right in the middle of the hot morning sun in Hammond, and somebody comes walking through the side gate, eating an ice cream cone, and it's Sean Knight. So he goes walking behind, stand behind offensive coordinator Carl Smith while they're doing drills. 5 minutes later, Jim Mora sees Sean Knight just standing around eating an ice cream cone. Coach Mora got so mad, he actually blew his whistle, stopped practice, and literally chased Sean Knight out of the stadium and told him, "Don't you dare come back here until you're ready to practice."
And where is Mora now? That's the question.
Yeah, well, Coach Moore has been out of football now, I guess, for 3 years.
Yeah.
But, however, he's a radio guy like us now.
Is he really?
He now works for Fox Sports National Radio out of California.
You're a big sports fan of the Saints, a big Saints follower. Where did you rate him as far as coaches go?
Oh, he was the best we ever had. He may never get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but he's the only Saints coach to leave the team with a winning record.
What made him different?
I think the fact that when he came here, he had good talent that Bum Phillips had drafted, but he was able to tell guys in an honest fashion, this is what we need to do to win. Now, we didn't have a lot of Hall of Famers on our team, but we had guys who would, when he was here from like 87 to 92, his first part of his tenure, we had just enough guys of above-average talent to win who believed in his system with a strong defense, an offense that could score just enough points, and a dominating special teams. That was the secret to making Jim Mora the success that he was in New Orleans.
Why did he leave? Refresh my memory.
Midway through 96, he resigned out of frustration that there were a lot of decisions, personnel decisions made after Mr. Jim Finks, the general manager, died in May of 94. The people who took over from Mr. Finks made a lot of personnel decisions over Jim Mora's head that he wasn't happy with. And don't get me wrong, Coach Moore made some mistakes too. But when you put all that together, it led to a 3-13 season in '96. And Coach Moore decided to cut his losses halfway through because the frustration just got to him.
Yeah, where'd he go?
He was out of football year, then he went to Indianapolis, and he was gone after 2001 from Indy.
I'll be darned. William Taylor, our guest, going to talk some more Saints here on Louisiana Live. We will be right back. Monday, August 16th marks the 27th anniversary of the death of Elvis Presley, and mighty John Martin will be on Louisiana Live. Later in the week, Walter Mears, a 45-year veteran of the Associated Press, Pulitzer Prize winner. He's covered a lot of presidential campaigns. He'll share his thoughts on the current campaign and all those others he's covered through the years. Meanwhile, talking Saints, William Taylor is our guest. And most memorable moments from the Saints, in your opinion, William?
Well, opening day, when John Gilliam ran back the very first Saints kickoff for a touchdown, 94 yards.
That would be memorable. You were raised on the Saints, weren't you?
Basically, but not until 1979, when I was 10 years old. That's when I really started following them on a yearly basis. And then Tom Dempsey's field goal in 1970, the record 63-yarder. Their first winning season in '87 was memorable. And, of course, the first playoff win in 2000.
Yeah. How many winning seasons for the Saints?
Winning seasons?
Yeah.
I think, believe it or not, just 6. No, I'm sorry. I think it's 7.
Well,
all time. They didn't start having them until 1987, so it's pretty easy to count.
All right. Most embarrassing moment, in your opinion, for the Saints?
Oh, God, too many. 78 loss to Atlanta on a Big Ben play, a Hail Mary play with less than 30 seconds to go. I think last year John Carney missing the extra point after that dramatic lateral play where the Saints had a chance to tie against Jacksonville. 1973, NFL Films has this great 35-yard fumble Archie Manning had against the Bears. It's just timeless stuff like that. But I need to give credit to somebody.
Okay.
Because one of Ricky Stockner's favorite segments we do is the Vanessa Update. The reason why I was able to do such a good job on Bonnie and Charlie is because I hired Vanessa to be my associate meteorologist.
Well, I knew you couldn't do it all by yourself.
Yeah, you see, a lot of people don't know Vanessa is very good at calculating vertically integrated liquid within rain systems. And plus, she also knows a little bit of moonshine can be better than lots of sunshine. So.
Well, that's a very special talent.
Exactly.
And knowledge, I mean, golly.
Oh, I know. But I will say this. Vanessa can be a little bit jealous.
Of who?
Well, here's what happened. Her and I went to the black and gold scrimmage together, and so I could take notes, so I can sound intelligent when I talk to you and Jeff.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Well, I try to be very well-rounded when I go to whatever Saints functions I go to. But something very mysteriously happened at the black and gold scrimmage. The 3 times during the scrimmage that they were going to highlight performances from the Saints stations, Vanessa would ask me to get up to go get something to drink. And I knew I was suspicious because she kept wanting Mr. Pibb. Do you remember that?
Yes, I love it.
And so I told Vanessa, well, Vanessa, how am I supposed to review the dance team for the radio show? And she said, well, don't worry, I'll take notes for you. So if you don't mind, Don.
Well, she's your helper.
Exactly. Here's Vanessa's review of the Saints station's preseason performances so far.
All right.
She says, the dance team was wearing so much makeup that they should all be immediately checked into the Max Factor Clinic. And then she says, one alleged dancer was so terrible that not only did she have 2 left feet, she was borrowing a 3rd left foot from another dancer.
Oh, boy.
We show you how jealous she gets. And then she says, the Saints station costumes were so revealing that they are going to be sued by Colonel Sanders for creating a monopoly on the thigh and leg market.
Oh, Lord, William, that's it. We're up against the clock. Kiss and hug the ones you love. We'll see you Monday. Bye-bye.
Hi, this is Ricky Stockner for Louisiana's best on-hold value, Sound Solutions.
If you're